Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we'll be comparing the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra camera to the Samsung Galaxy S10 camera, and we'll be looking at the differences between the main camera unit and as well as the zoom optical camera unit to see if there's any differences and improvements between the models. The inspiration for this video was that we're taking pictures with the latest flagship models and we can't see, if they're actually good, or our standards have been set so high, that we can't realize that, are they actually good, or is our standards too harsh? So I thought to myself, you know what, let's take the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, the flagship of 2020, and compare it to the Samsung Galaxy S10, the flagship of 2019. They are both the flagships in their range. So the S10 has the same camera unit as the S10 Plus. They have both the premium rear camera units, and then same for the S20 Ultra. It's got the premium or the best camera unit in its S20 range. So a bit of background, as I already said, the S20 Ultra was released in 2020 and the S10 was released in 2019. So the S10, the rear camera, the specs aren't too impressive. Maybe in today's standards they aren't that impressive, but back in 2019 they may have been impressive. I think they were impressive. So we're looking at the 12 megapixel normal wide lens, which is the lens you take normal pictures with. It's a 12 megapixel 26 millimeter lens. It's not that impressive anymore. You look at the 2x optical zoom lens as well, 12 megapixel. So you can see that it's actually the same lenses. It's a bit wider because there's a telephoto lens, there's a 52 millimeter lens. So if we go to the S20 Ultra and look at the rear camera there, we've got a huge difference actually. Very impressive. So the main camera unit has 108 megapixels, which is a substantial increase. It's also a 26 millimeter lens, and then your 4x optical lens or 10x hybrid zoom lens is a 48 megapixel. So it's about 3 times better than, or 4 times better than what the previous phone was, the S10. So if you zoom in, you're going to get some detail, but not to the extent that you're going to get with your normal wide 108 megapixel lens. So I think it's going to be an interesting comparison. So let's just go ahead, go outside and take some pictures. The specs for the two devices individually. You can just pause this frame and zoom in, or just read it off the screen to see what the differences are. Alright, as you guys can see, I'm currently outside. This is where we'll be conducting the test against the S20 Ultra and the S10. So we'll be taking 3 kinds of shots here outside. We'll be taking a portrait shot, a landscape shot, and a zoom shot. We'll be taking pictures of flowers, anything detailed, and then we'll be throwing them side to side to see what the differences will be between them. And we'll obviously choose the best lighting situation, not too much overexposed, and where it's a bit colorful. I won't be using any post-editing software or anything. This is just the raw cameras as they is, tuned to the highest resolution obviously. Should be on the spec sheet that I showed you guys earlier, and then let's just get into it. Okay, as you guys can see, I've got the Samsung Galaxy S10 here. We're ready to take the pictures of this flower. So we're going to start with the portrait mode. Let's focus there on that flower. Let's choose the back one, and we are ready to take the picture. Cool. So then let's go out, take a normal still photo, highest resolution, a zoom photo 2 times, and we are set. Moving on to the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. Let's go ahead and take a portrait photo. Let's focus on the flower there. Cool. Let's take a normal still photo. First 108 megapixels, make sure, highest megapixels. Great stuff. And then the zoom, or 5 times shot. Okay, let's go and review the pictures. Alright, looking at the first picture, this was the normal picture we took at full resolution. It wasn't portrait mode or zoom mode. The left hand side is the S20 Ultra and the right hand side is the S10. So off the bat you can kind of see which one looks better and less distorted. I think the S10 on the right hand side is way overexposed. I think the Samsung S20 Ultra, the software did a way better job there. But the S20 Ultra as well has got a smaller focus point, as the S10 has a wider focus point, but I guess that helps with focusing on your main subject. Alright, so moving on to the next, we have the zoom shot. So here on the left hand side is the S10 with the 2x zoom, and on the right is the S20 Ultra with the 5x zoom. Now remember, why I didn't zoom in completely to the max is because we don't want any digital zoom, we want optical zoom. So looking at it like this, the S10 on the left hand side does look good, but you can't zoom in very far, you don't get much detail. S20 Ultra, it's an impressive zoom. There's obviously some software working here, but not too bad. You get a good zoom on the S20 Ultra. Moving on to the last picture here, this was the portrait shot. So depending on taste, the right hand side has the Samsung Galaxy S10 portrait and the left the S20 Ultra. So you can see Samsung really made their portrait software better. The effect is way better. You can see on the right hand side with the S10 there's some spots that isn't, doesn't look as good as the S20 Ultras. The S20 Ultra really focused on the object and blurred out the background nicely. I think if we go and look at these pictures individually, we'll get a better picture for it. We're looking at the Samsung Galaxy S10 portrait mode here. This picture looks great. The subject is nicely in focus. There's a bit of blur issues on the leaves there, and here it's a good amount of blur, so I'll give this picture a 6 out of 10 for 2019. The Samsung Galaxy S10 didn't do too bad here. The subject looks, it looks great. There's no issues here, but around it where the portrait mode really stands out, it had some issues there, blurring out the rest of the surroundings. Heading on to the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, you can definitely see there's a difference here between the two models. The blur effect looks excellent here. It did a great job of detecting what it needs to blur out, and the main subject is nicely in focus. There's no blurring issues on the subject. It's not overexposed, so this one I'll give it an 8 out of 10. The S20 Ultra, this picture just looks great. They did a great job here identifying what to be blurred out. You can see between the pedals there's no cut off there, so obviously there's a great improvement between these models. Now we're looking at the normal S10 picture we took at full resolution. You can see the picture is a bit overexposed. There's some nice detail, but when you go in there's a bit of distortion, so not too great. I think the camera unit didn't do a great job of changing the ISO on it with the automatic settings, so there's a lot of detail still. It's not a bad picture, but I think it's too bright. But honestly, a few years ago in 2019, this would have been a top tier picture. I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. Now looking at the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra 108 megapixel option we took here, the full resolution. This picture obviously drastically focused on the main object point there, which is the flower petals and the flower. So you can see obviously there's not a lot of focus around the area, but that's fine, because if you zoom in you can see there's an insane amount of detail it took here of the main object. So you can even see there's a bug there. You can all see the individual pieces there of the flower. So I won't be too harsh on it, because I think that is what you want when you take a full resolution picture. You want the most out of your object or your subject. So this is a stunning picture. I think this looks like it was taken by an actual camera, so I'll give this one a 9 out of 10. It isn't bad, not overexposed as well. You can see everything if you zoom in. There's not a lot of distortion obviously, so great job Samsung. Heavy improvement here. Lastly, we're looking at the zoom shot. So this is the S10's 2x optical zoom. You can see it's a good zoom. It wasn't a bad zoom. Obviously you can't go in too much, otherwise you'll risk using digital zoom, which will ruin the picture. Yeah, there's a great amount of detail around everything, around the object, even the object itself. If you zoom out, that's not a bad picture. I'll give this for zoom, I'll have to say a 5 out of 10. Because you can't zoom in too much without distorting the detail, so that doesn't help you. The 2x zoom on the S10 in 2019, I don't think this was a useful option, to be honest. Alright, on the S20 Ultra, we've got the 5 times optical zoom here. I believe it's going to go up to 10 times optical zoom, but that would have distorted this particular image too much because we are too close to it. We had to move further away, which wouldn't be equal between the two models. So we chose the same distance, but only obviously with a different zoom quantity. So this one is a 5 times zoom. Obviously, same as before, there's not a lot of detail when you start to digitally zoom in, but when you zoom out, think about this, you are 5 times away from this flower and you're zooming in 5 times. Actually, not a bad picture. It could be better. I think that Samsung obviously has fixed and improved the optical zoom lenses with the new S21 model and the Note 20 Ultra models, but I'll give this a 6 out of 10. It's not a bad zoom. I think it is improved. If you look at the previous photo, there is some differences. That one is less detailed and not even as zoomed in as this much. As much as this one. So I think this is a better zoom. They have improved with the optical lens, but I think there is some more improvement to make. I think this is a final 6 out of 10. Alright guys, I think that concludes the video for today. I think the clear winner is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. There's overall more detail. You can see there's a clear difference between the two models in a year's time. I can't wait to see what Samsung brings out in the next year or 2 or even 5 years. It's going to be insane if you think about what a year's difference was in regards with the portrait, the zoom, and the 108 megapixel, the more megapixel camera. If you zoom into that subject, the quality was insane. So thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time.